I think the competition will get worse because if we now look at how Google or AI is crawling like the internet, searching for information, this is already a big shit show, right? Because since 2 years, everybody's pumping out AI content in a factory, right? And this makes the job of Google and also the AI search engines much harder to separate what's good, what's not good, what is actually true information, what is false information, what is the source. And this will be even worse in the future.
There is a very paradoxal game that we are playing, which is how do we use AI as much as possible to be seen by search engine that will be seen by AI, while appearing as human as possible to differentiate from all the other guys that are using AI. It's just insane if you think about it. Welcome, and thank you for taking a moment to teach me and teach the people watching about the changes in SEO with AI. And just as a quick intro, I'm working with you since quite a long time now for clients. We are both independent and we work for a client. And I've seen you firsthand building the SEO from almost nothing to, I checked recently and we had 15 million impressions in the last year. And I also know that you are a good marketer and that you are nerding out a lot on AI agents, and you are trying to understand the what's next of SEO. So this is something I wanted to understand for myself, and I guess a lot of people really want to know more about it. So I thought, let's call Marius, let's have a chat and see what comes up. So maybe if you want to give us from your side a little brief of what you are doing and what is top of mind now.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me. First of all, really cool chance to talk about the stuff that I'm excited about. So this comes very natural. So this is excellent, and thanks for the intro. I think that sums it up pretty well. SEO and SEO and AI and all of this. It's a very complex but also interesting topic, right? Because it's not only SEO as in a marketing channel or marketing discipline. But I think what we're going to talk about today is of course, also SEO, but this goes also not very deep, but a little bit into psychology, how people are functioning, right? Because this affects also how they're using technology that is presented to them or available to them. And I think this is one of the breaking points that we can discuss today, and that probably will also help your listeners to understand the little bit broader game plan, how I think if we talk about SEO, how SEO will evolve in the next few years, how people will change their behavior, and what we as marketers or people who are working online can do right now to be on the right track, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, we briefly chat about it, but for myself, I know that if I look at 2-3 years ago, I was having plenty of tabs where I was looking for stuff I was interested in Google. And now it's it became what, 10%, 20% of my search. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm quite a nerd, and I love to dig into new tech, so that's obviously normal for me. But at some point, everybody will do that. And what you just said is about how people interact with technologies. And in the end, a search, what is a search? It's someone thinks of something, and they need to make a decision of how will they get the information. And now, until not recently, they had Google. That was the best option. Let's Google it or let's YouTube it. But now there is something else. You can go on ChatGPT. It's the same. It's one click, and you can talk to it. And literally, you have an AI agent, because now with O3 came up recently, which is a very fast. It's an AI agent that has access to a lot of tools, and it does the search for you. It goes on the internet, finds everything, and then brings you a summary of the information in the way you want it to consume it. So I'm like, okay, if you're a business now, how do you think about that? Like, how do you, what do you do to prevent yourself from losing everything you have built so far in SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question, valid question. I think you gave a very true statement, like that you observed yourself and that you're aware that you are like in a bubble, right? So you're basically, your job or what you're doing is like including that you stay on top of all of this, right? And you know how to use this stuff and you figure out the ways on how to use it effectively. But this pushes you into like a top 2% of the overall population in using these methods. And I always like to think like from first principles or data if available, right? And right now, I don't have like the exact numbers. It's always hard to throw around statistics if you don't have them on hand. But like Google search is like right now still 400 times bigger than GPT search. I think that needs to be clarified first. And I think this also could help like everybody to calm down a little bit, right? Of course, like we are at the beginning of a shift. It's happening right now, and we can talk about this and what to do, etc., to be prepared like for the future. But there's no need to panic, right?
That's good to know.
That's good to know. There is no need to panic.
Yeah.
I think also like optimizing your web presence or like, yeah, your web presence, so to speak, um, for AI, this is not that different from optimizing it for search engines, because in the back end, of course, like these AI tools use search engines to like crawl and index the web.
Yeah, totally. And you came up with already like a game plan. I know it's as you said, we need not to freak out, but we were talking about it earlier, and it's like sometimes it's tiring. Like it feels like things are we can't catch up with things, even if you are constantly looking into what's changing. It feels you never have enough time to know everything. So for a business owner that has a lot of other things to do than reading newsletters and testing tools, it's even worse. But there are things if we calm down and we think like, okay, what's the next logical step that I need to do? There are things, and you came up already with a plan. You already went into the research of what OpenAI released as the information for how business should uh, show their products online, so an AI can retrieve them and understand them. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, what are the big steps to start thinking of the next gen of SEO and AI?
But I think the core principle to think about is like, if there is a way to achieve a result in a more comfortable and quicker way, right? Then people will do this, no doubt. And this is like the comparison to, I Google something, right? So I search for a specific product and then you get a list of data, and then you and your human brain, you need to sort through this list, right? And evaluate, is this good? Is this bad? Make a deeper dive into this topic, make a new search. As you said, then you have like 20 tabs open. If you buy, oh, very cool case. Like yesterday, the Bluetooth thing in my computer broke down, right? Um, and I figured out, okay, it's really hardware failure, right? And the computer is already like 5 years old, right? And I thought, man, maybe it will break down more in the next few months, so I need to get a new computer. And like what I do as a person, I think similar to you, I go into, I have not used ChatGPT, but like Gemini with deep research, but same functionality as the
Yeah.
O3, right? It can research stuff. And I just gave it my specs, right? So I just said, I occasionally host my own large language models. Therefore, I think I need a good GPU. And then I mainly only use the computer for work, right? So no gaming is important. And I want to spend like $1,500 maximum.
Hmm.
And it goes on for like 10 minutes and researches all of the stuff, gives me a very detailed list and the links to the stores where I can buy it. And I actually bought it today, right? The PC based on this research. And
You didn't double check by going into blog articles. You
absolutely
pick.
not. Absolutely not. And therefore I think we need to um we need to separate the use cases, right? This is what I said. So they are very, so I knew what I wanted, right? So I had a very specific need and I just wanted it solved, and I knew the parameters and on how to get there, right? How to give in the data and receive the products, and then with one view see, okay, this is matching in budget, buy, right? Shortest possible cycle ever, conversion cycle ever. But what I wanted to say is this is 1%, right? So this is us. We know that this is possible, and how far we can rely on the information that we get from the AI and what to input to make the output better, etc. This is not true for for most of the people, right?
But to get more practical, you are doing SEO content creation day in, day out. You have teams that are trained to do that. And at the same time, you are someone that uses AI at the best of your capabilities with the last tools. So what did change in your business processes? How do you make the best out of AI without removing what I think is also like the I say it because I see it, but human touch is still very important in the work you produce in content creation. So how do you combine both? What did change, and what tools do you use? And
If we try to go down to the bottom, as I said, also these AI models or AI search engines, they also do the same as Google or other search engines do. They scrape the internet, right? They search for information, they index the information, and then they just have a different way of presenting it to you as a user, right? One gives you a list, other gives you answer in text or video or whatever format, or a hologram in 5 years, I don't know. But this is the mechanics that is behind it, and they're basically very similar, right? Only that I think the competition will get worse, because if we now look at how Google or AI is crawling the internet, searching for information, this is already a big shit show, right? Because since 2 years, everybody's pumping out AI content in a factory, right? And this makes the job of Google and also the AI search engines much harder to separate what's good, what's not good, what is actually true information, what is false information, what is the source. And this will be even worse in the future. And I think we need to think in this situation. An old thing is the EEAT guidelines by Google. I think you are aware of them, right? If the listeners are not aware, it's these are rules by Google. You can search or GPT them if you want to, but in short, basically this applies to all industries or areas of searches where your money, your health is affected, right? So everything that's really critical, basically. And for this, Google has some really specific guidelines. And for example, this is that if you publish content, you should have a real author attached to this content,
yeah,
right? With his name and metadata and link to social profiles, which are all small things that Google uses to identify real humans or experts in an area. For example, if you talk about health topics, you need to follow these guidelines, otherwise you will not be ranked anywhere, right? So this would be the first thing. If you don't know what the EAT guidelines are, then learn it, right?
yeah.
This will be one of
The fundamental doesn't change.
No, this is one of the things that will be exactly the same, because we talk about this later. So this is the foundation, right? These EAT guidelines, this is exactly what in the future will be more important to whatever crawler information retriever we use, right? And then to make it worse, as I said, people are pumping out now content en masse, right? It's a lot. It's really a lot. And this opens up the problem too. How can we like separate ourselves from the masses of information that gets published, right? And like if you think about it, it could be a really shitty cycle if everybody's using like these AI tools and they all learn from the same sources and we all want them to create content for us. Not a very good experience. And this is exactly where we need to start thinking, right? So the next very practical thing is like, think about how can you differentiate yourself from the other people publishing information, right? Could be product pages, could be blogs. How can this be different?
Okay, people are changing their behavior. So you said, wait a minute, not that fast. We are still not there. But there is a more urgent problem, which is currently the internet is filled with a lot of content that is AI generated. So even though the change of behavior of using agents instead of Google will take a while, at some point there is a problem for brands to that actually create good content to uh, compete with the mass of content that is created, not to be taken as a training data for copycats to create content. And people will also be bored at some point about AI content and will stop consulting blog articles. So it feels like it's a tough situation for SEO in general. So if you have like practical ways to think about it and the thing you mentioned, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, perfect. This is a perfect question. You mentioned all of the challenges that are here right now and that will occur in the future, and we can solve them all, I think. Absolutely. So I think the one way to go about it, like this is our way, how we do it, like starting from now on, is that very specifically what we do is like um, we need to still do our classic SEO work, right? So we need to learn what people are searching for, what are the search terms, what are the questions, and cluster this and sort it, all the good classic SEO stuff, right? Still old, still same. And once we know this, like we create still, of course, with the help of AI, the content briefings, right? So like what the very specific topics are, subtopics, etc., what to talk about in the content that is created. And now it starts to get different. Once we did this, and I explain why it's important in a second. Once we do this with the help of AI, we go through the content and identify like information gaps that are currently on the internet. So it can use the search engine and identify this on its own, right? So if you are not into automation and stuff, you can use Perplexity to get this information. But we need to know like the gaps, right? And then in the next step, also the AI does it because it's boring to think about this. Thinks about like from these gaps, like what would make good questions for an expert on this topic, right? And it also articulates these questions for us. Mostly these are like it depends super deeply on the industry that you're in, right? What the type of questions are. So I don't know like if specific examples would make sense now, but the theory is important. So now we have like SEO briefing, content gaps, and then also interview questions to an expert. And in the next step, what we do is like we have now created like this interview outline, right? And we do the interview actually. So we try to get every client of ours to like make the jump to video content also, right? So we then once a month do like this video interview, right? So we have these expert questions and we talk to them to get the information out of their brain, right, into the recording. And now it gets really interesting. Now we have like the second set of data, right? So once we have the SEO briefing and the SEO content that will be created and the video content. And there we have then now two lanes where it goes. Like we take the transcript of the interview that was made for this month or for this period of content creation, right? And then we feed this interview back into the content creation agent that we have. And basically in the second step, the task of this agent is to like understand like which parts of the interview matches like these knowledge gaps, right? And also if there's additional information for the other parts, just weave it into the content, right? And if
Yeah.
you understood like the problem statement that we made like 5 minutes ago, you already start to understand, aha, okay, so now we already now have like a content piece that is much more information rich than everybody else could do, right? Because they're all like refeeding the same AI content. And even if you have like human content creators, like they're Googling, they're reading stuff, and then they writing it in their own words mostly. And now we have like already a very interesting piece of content, right? That has a human touch to it, and also a human
Yeah.
opinion in it from the interview. Because we also formulate like the questions sometimes a little bit like provocative, right? To like get some really good statements out
Yeah.
of the people. Um, and then these are like minor things like beneath this, but for example, there are quote boxes then that are created for the content. And these are, and of course, like with the AAT guidelines together, these are all nice little hints, right? That this piece of content and this website has like original, interesting information that cannot be found somewhere else. Go ahead.
Basically, you want to push on EAT. So basically giving the current source engine more and more proof that you as a business owner or your client is an expert. And at the same time, give more human touch so the final user is more likely to enjoy the content. So you use video or audio, I guess, to extract what's in the founder's mind and basically extract the only thing that AI doesn't really have yet is experience, like real world experience, and probably some kind of emotional approach to it. And you use that to increase your expertise from to Google and the future search engine. But one question is,
Mm-hmm.
how do you present that? Because do you use the information and write the same kind of articles with only the blog quotes that you mentioned, or would you try to say, okay, now SEO, it's not only writing blog articles and making like good titles on your product pages. Now SEO is being everywhere. And okay, now we take that and we make a YouTube channel out of it, and we make like different shorts, and we are on LinkedIn, and we are everywhere to increase the global SEO and not only on Google.
Absolutely. This is the other lane, right? So now we described like how we go about like increasing the presence on your own website, right? How to make it different from everybody else to be considered as an information source also for the AI models. And then the other lane is exactly what you described. Exactly right. Like your mind got into the exactly right direction, I think. So now we have like this recorded video interview, right? And we can repurpose this as we want to, right? So this depends a lot on the business. But my advice, like to everybody, is get comfortable doing video content, because this is one of the last resorts. I think
Yeah,
this will not be touched
totally.
too early by AI. And still, if like the AI is so good that it really is, there's not much difference anymore. Um, it's just my prediction. I think like people will still prefer like to watch a real human being like talk and give information on video. So I think it's also starting also with like text content already. If it's done badly, like people do not appreciate like reading AI. They do not
Yeah.
appreciate going into customer support. And it's obviously AI. If it's made very well, no problem. But it's like 10%, right, of the cases where it's done very well. And I think video, this is even like a much bigger hurdle to be done by AI in the right way.
I would say, from what I see every day, is that there is something. I mean, writing without AI now as a business, it doesn't make any sense. Like, really, financially, doesn't make any sense. You have way better output, whatever you are writing. I mean, I'm doing a lot of marketing. I'm doing like ad copies, email. It doesn't make any sense to write it manually, but if you give the right context and you give the right instruction, then you can have a very good result. But there is one thing that is always missing, really, is humor. Like this nice touch of humor that is not too big and slightly perceptible, that creates a smile. not like a big laugh, but just a smile. And I never found, and I'm testing all the LLMs, and I've never found one that is mastering that for now. So
Um,
I think we still have some days in front of us as human beings, and I really hope that actually the video will stuck, because that's the last thing we have. It's already like taken over by AI, but I don't think it will replace. We need to be there as humans, um, and people still crave connection, crave to talk with actual people. So
yeah. So after this conversation, I can share with you like the prompting structure that we use, especially for content creation. Like these prompts alone are like 5,000 tokens mostly. Like they're super intense. Um, you can get these LLMs to exactly write in the tone of voice that you want them to. This is possible already, but still, like I think even if it can replicate like the best author, we still like if we go to the video content back again, this will be a huge differentiator on so many levels, right? So if you are able to create this video content and you have it,
yeah.
as we discussed already, we can repurpose it on all the channels, right? So we can get broader distribution. But with this broader distribution, also comes back again like the increased value for you as an information source. Because if you try to think at it from a search engine perspective, let it be Google or AI, it doesn't matter too much. Like if there is a piece of information on the internet, which could be a product page, blog page, etc., it's already very information rich, and you as the search engine already saw it has information that nobody else has. There's a real human behind it, a real expert with social media profiles and background in the industry, right? You already think, very good. I keep that in mind. And if you now go through the internet, as you do every day as a search engine, right? And then you discover, oh, there's also a YouTube channel, and there's a video to each topic that is on the website linked to the specific blog page with the human talking about this topic. This brings you to a whole nother league than a website or an entity, if we want to say so, in the internet, right? Is just giving out this information without the enrichment, without the network of distributed, like human proof content, basically.
Mm.
Yeah. So this is like the production side of the things, and then we can talk about another thing that I think is also very good and applicable very quickly if you want to.
Go ahead. I was about to.
No, ask your
I
question. I keep it in mind.
actually, no, I was just reflecting for myself, and I was like, that's interesting what we are trying to do, because as as marketers, we want the marketers and business owners and whoever is watching these things in, okay, how do I use AI to do more? So there is a very like paradoxal, I don't know how
Yeah.
to say it in English, paradoxal game that we are playing, which is how do we use AI as much as possible to be seen by search engine that will be seen by AI, while appearing as human as possible to differentiate from all the other guys that are using AI.
Yes.
It's just insane if you think about it.
It is, but we do it right if we do it that way, because we don't make it a closed loop, right? The closed AI loop, but we give in like our own valuable information. So for us, it's
Yeah.
not that. But I see what you are referring to. Like if it would just be a loop, this is the shit loop that I referred to right in the beginning. Exactly what you describe right now. If you do it that way, you will make the world worse.
Yeah, and I think the only thing, and after that, all the rest is tools and processes, and but the only thing that you talked about and that you make right is you need to inject human stuff at some point that is not yet on the internet. At some point in the process, in the loop, and reuse it as much as the best way you can, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much information, right? So probably we don't find any gaps anymore, right? Somewhere in the future. But then still, like the personal opinion and the human in the background is a big enough differentiator. to make this work. And then also like just try to like think about what do you enjoy looking at and consuming, right? And then just try to think from this principle. And I think what I described right now goes very much into that direction. So if we do this, content will be produced that is enjoyable to consume. If it's enjoyable for humans, and we do the tech stuff in the background right, like SDEAT stuff, it's also enjoyable to search engines.
All right. So you wanted to go on something else that sounds like really interesting. Please go.
Absolutely, yeah. This is basically the third lane on how what we can do right now to even make our content better and better to use. So like right now we have really good models with coding capabilities, right? And what we can also do is like if we created like this very rich content, very worthy content, we can go through another AI loop, and this time let the AI look at the content with the lens of how could this be enhanced or made even better if there would be a small interactive tool, infographics, something that's interactive, right? Um,
Yeah.
so like if you are selling like for example PCs, right? Like I did. What you want to have, like if you have a specific question and you land on a page and then you have a very specific topic that you came to a blog for, right? So very specific topic about like for AI use cases, right? How to run locally LLMs on your PC. Um, and you have a very specific question. And then you have this blog post, and then this blog post would have like a small mini tool that lets you, for example, compare like different architectures, and you just push some buttons and you see the exact comparison that you want to have, right?
Mm.
Maybe stupid example because AI maybe can also do this, like with with a deep research. Um, but the idea behind it is basically understand the context of the blog and then come up with like a small interactive piece of code that can be written entirely in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and just embed it on the page, right? Natively into the browser. You don't need to install anything. Um, and what this immediately will do is like if people are landing on your page, right? They come with a very specific intention. They have a very specific topic or question in mind. Otherwise, they will not come to your page. And if they now find something that helps them to answer or solve this problem in an interactive way, they will start to use it, right? And this sends back to Google or whatever search engine we're talking about in the future, that there is interaction on the page, right? It increases the time on the page,
Mm.
which is measured. Interaction like buttons are clicked. These are all events that like if you're using Chrome, Google knows about it, right? What you're doing on the page. And this sends like this is like the gold metric that we can send back to Google is like time on page and interaction on
Interactions.
the website, because big identifier for like good page, right?
Yeah. So just to make sure I understand, you're using tools like Lovable, Replit, Cursor, all those coding tools. This is, I think, it's what you're
Not even
referring to.
necessary.
Not even necessary. So you're just going into, like, you can go to ChatGPT and say, okay, here's an article that describes some search. I want to transform it in an interactive tool for the user. Please create this interactive tool in HTML so I can embed it in my article.
I mean, in reality, like the tools are not that important. You can do it with Claude Sonnet 3.7. This works very well. Gemini 2.5 Pro works very well with the coding capabilities. The process is a little bit more complex. So, of course, you have like a base prompt of this engineer basically that should analyze and then create like the ideas for possible tools, right? But you need to adjust it a little bit to yourself and your use case. So it makes sense that in the beginning you feed it, for example, the brand guidelines that you have, like colors, button roundings, etc., so that it creates like the tools matching to your brand and tone of voice, etc. Otherwise, it will be not so good. Like the result will be not so good.
Can we make a tool out of each article to increase usability? Like literally, you would do that. Like you would go on every performing article, and maybe I
Yes.
guess you use AI for that. You say, okay, what kind of tool can I build for this article build it, basically.
Build it, basically. Yeah. If you give it like the brand guidelines, and like sometimes you need to tweak it a little bit, like with the different CMS that you're using, like let it be WordPress or Shopify. Like a little challenges that, of course, on your website you have like code that is present already, like for example CSS rules, right, that apply globally. And you would need to make the tool like use the existing CSS rules to not like create too many nested like CSS stuff and bloat your website. But if you're working with a web developer already, you could develop such a workflow and then just explain it to him and tell him basically, hey, make sure that if you implement it on the website for these posts, make sure that it uses like the CSS rules that are already there, and it's like 10 minutes of time use.
All right, I see. So that's basically the last layer. I would like to try to summarize, if that's okay, and then after you can finish with some closing thoughts. But for what I understand is, if I go back from the very beginning, we have something that is changing drastically in SEO, but not that fast, but it will. So we need to
Yes.
prepare. And the thing we need to prepare for is how to get into the good graces of the AI agent that are screwing the web. But this is not that urgent yet. But in any case, this will depend on how we also get on the good graces of Google and Bing today. Because what matters is to differentiate and to show expertise and to make the content that people really love and interact with. So that's why, as the first layer, I don't remember if it was the first or not, but you want to inject human
Mm-hmm.
intelligence as much as possible, if possible, with video, so you can get out of the search engine itself, but then go toward like the more broad web, world wide web, and you're on all social media, and you show expertise globally, so the SEO will benefit from that. But also, if you inject human touch, human experience, human emotion, then your SEO content is getting better. And you can do that using AI with your processes. And the last thing is, how do I make the actual articles, the web pages, the product pages, everything that's on my website, how do I make it interesting, easy to use, fun? And for this, we can also use AI, of course, and we can transform written content into interactive experiences. And now we can do it very easily using the last LLMs, like Gemini 2.5 that you mentioned. So did I forget something?
No, not really. Like if you follow this game plan, you will see gains now and you will survive the future, right? But let me emphasize this. Like it's not that urgent, but you need to start moving now, right? You should start to think about now, how can I like fix all the technical stuff on my website, how to make it really structured so that crawlers like to crawl it and easily understand, for example, product information. This is SEO best practices like lesson 1, right? Need to do it. And then like if you follow the steps that you just outlined, you're all set for the future. Like this is where it will head. This is how you can like benefit from it in the future. No, you summarized it like super well. That's it. That's the game plan.
Right. So let's work on it. Well, Marius, thank you very much for taking the time and this conversation. I learned a lot. I hope the people that are still watching now learned a lot as well. Yeah, and let's stay in touch and talk about it in a few months. Let's see if the AI search has taken over Google or not.
Yeah,
All right.
we will see. Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.